So after taking an ugly loss last week versus the Jets, the Eagles now have easily their biggest test of the season, as they will come back home to face what has been a historic Miami Dolphins offense and an overall very good Fins team on Sunday night. And with all the problems this Eagles team has shown 6 games into the season, this is definitely not going to be easy. However, it's definitely not impossible, and if the Eagles want to be the kind of team we know they can be, they're going to have to prove they can beat some of the league's top teams. So this Dolphins game gives them their first opportunity to do that, but how can the Eagles slow down this high-powered Dolphins team and come away with this crucial win? Well, we're going to talk about all that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So the Eagles will face the Dolphins in a battle of 2 5-1 teams on Sunday Night Football, and this will surely be a great game. On one side, you got a tremendously talented Eagles team led by Jalen Hurts, and then on the other, you got the Dolphins led by Tua Tagovailoa, which is obviously a huge storyline in itself, obviously with Jalen Hurts and Tua having multiple years together at Alabama. Jalen Hurts was at first the starter before then being benched in the national championship game for Tua Tagovailoa. Then Tua started that next year. Jalen Hurts came back in and replaced him when Tua got hurt. And then Jalen Hurts obviously transferred to Oklahoma. And now here they both are having success with their respective NFL franchises, meeting back up for the first time in their NFL career. So that's definitely, again, a very big storyline. Then, of course, you also have this high-powered Dolphins offense, which has been on a historic pace, led by Tua Tagovailoa, who's looked like an MVP candidate so far this year. The Dolphins have put up 2,992 total yards of offense already, which is the second most amount of yards put up by one single team through 6 games in NFL history. And then Tyreek Hill has probably been the best offensive player in the NFL so far this year, arguably the best player in the entire league, as he already has 814 receiving yards, which is not only the most amount of receiving yards a receiver has had through 6 games in NFL history, but he's also easily on pace to shatter Calvin Johnson's receiving yards record of just under 2,000. He's on pace for over 2,300 receiving yards, and he's scheduled to pass the record in Week 15. And then, of course, the Dolphins offense also has Jaylen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, and some more guys. I mean, that offense is pretty much like a track team with the amount of speed that they have, and that no doubt is going to present a huge challenge for the Eagles defense. Obviously, the defense has been pretty good to start the year for the most part. Sean Desai's done an amazing job navigating all the injuries that the Birds have dealt with on that side of the ball to really still be able to have a consistently good defense week in and week out. I think more often than not, the defense shows up rather than the offense. The pass rush to start the season has just been amazing as we expected. That's probably been the best part of their team through 6 weeks. They just had so many guys contribute in that area. Haason Reddick over the past 3 weeks has been probably one of the best defensive players in the entire NFL. He's just been absolutely unbelievable. He's put up 16 pressures and 5.5 sacks in that span. And then plenty others have been amazing as well, whether that be some of the guys off the edge or also from the interior, as the Eagles have had 3 defensive tackles who've pretty much been stars to start the season. Jordan Davis has been a monster at stopping the run game. He's no doubt going to be relied upon heavily to shut down that part of the Dolphins offense, and he's also evolved as a pass rusher. Fletcher Cox has seemed to turn back the clock. He's played really, really well to start the year. And then Jalen Carter has probably been the best player on the entire Eagles defense so far to start the season. He's just been absolutely amazing. He's well on pace to win Rookie of the Year. And before Haason Reddick went crazy last week and Jalen Carter missed the game, Carter was leading the team in sacks. But now heading into this week, the Eagles got some really good news on Carter, as he will return again after missing last week's game, which is a huge deal because, like I'm going to talk about a little bit more in depth later, the pass rush is going to be a huge key to the Eagles winning this game and slowing down that Dolphins offense. And Jalen Carter's obviously a huge part of that. And then the Eagles also got some good injury news in the secondary with Darius returning from injury, which is obviously really important with the amount of dynamic receiving weapons the Dolphins have, specifically Tyreek Hill, who, like I said again, has been one of the best players, if not the best player in the NFL so far this season. And then they also got Sidney Brown, the rookie, returning for this game as well after missing the last 3 games with a hamstring injury. But the Eagles also did catch some tough breaks in the secondary, with their best safety Reed Blankenship being out for this game with a rib injury, and then of course their starting slot cornerback at this point, Roby, being out with a pec injury. So again, that's obviously not ideal against this elite Dolphins passing attack, and the Eagles are definitely going to need some other guys to step up in that secondary, specifically Sidney Brown, who's going to get his first start in this game, it looks like. And while on one hand I'm really excited to see Sidney Brown get his first start because I think he's going to turn into a really good player for this Eagles defense eventually, in the short term this is a really difficult situation to put the rookie in, especially after missing the last 3 games. But if we do know one thing about Sidney Brown, he's going to play fast, he's going to play with 100% effort, he's going to be physical, so hopefully those things serve him well against this extremely fast Dolphins offense. But the Eagles really can't just rely on Sidney Brown in the secondary to hold up. They need their pass rush to get home in this game, and the one loss the Dolphins took this year, the offense really didn't look amazing against a Bills defense that was able to generate pressure on Tua, so the Eagles defense is going to have to replicate what they did. They're going to have to make him uncomfortable, be aggressive, they have to try and make Tua make some tough decisions, They have to hit him all game. Just don't let him get into a rhythm, because if Tua does get into a rhythm, the offense is going to start really going. They're going to start lighting you up through the air, and you can't allow that to happen in this game. So the pass rush, Jalen Carter, Haason Reddick, those guys, they're going to have to bring their A game, and they got to have probably their best game of the year. At the end of the day, though, the Eagles' defense can't solely be relied upon to just stop the Dolphins' offense. They're too good not to have successful drives. I mean, really, no matter what the Birds' defense does, Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, and those guys are going to find ways to move the ball at some point. I mean, there's really only so much the defense can do, so the Birds' offense really has to hold up their end of the bargain, and honestly, whether the Birds win or lose this game is really going to come down to them, in my opinion. Now, in regards to injuries, they got some good news with DeVonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and most importantly, Lane Johnson being all good to go for the game. So obviously it's great to have all these guys healthy, but Lane in particular is the really important one, because for some reason it seems like the Eagles can't win without him. Last week when he went out, obviously the effects were really felt throughout the entire game, and it was really concerning because Lane's injury looked like it could have lasted a couple weeks, but this dude's a warrior. He fought to get healthy, and he's now going to be out there Sunday, so that definitely really helps the Birds' chances. But it also obviously just isn't enough that these guys are healthy. They're going to have to go out on the field and do what needs to be done. I mean, the offense has clearly had their struggles this season, like I talked about in my video on Friday, and they're going to have to clean up some of these issues if they want to win this game, and that starts with not turning the ball over. I mean, last week that was an absolute nightmare for this offense. That's probably the main reason that they lost the game, was because they turned the ball over 4 times. You cannot expect to win a football game when you turn it over that many times, so they just can't afford to do that in general. But in this game specifically against this Dolphins offense, you really can't do that, because if you do, their offense will pile up points quickly if they're put in good field position. So in that scenario, like they did last week, they are beating themselves, so they just can't afford to do that. And then pretty much like we've been saying all season, the red zone offense just has to be better. I mean, against this Dolphins team, you can't afford to get all the way down the field and just come up with 3 points. You absolutely can't do it. This game could become a shootout quickly, and if the Birds can't score touchdowns, they may not be able to hang with the Dolphins offense, so that's going to be crucial. When you get down into the red zone, you have to capitalize. My suggestion there is to run the ball a bit more. Make sure you utilize the legs of Jalen Hurts, but not in an obvious way. I think that they need to use more of the RPO read option game that was so effective last season, and I really do think that that will help this red zone offense tremendously. I mean, I think as long as the Eagles offense doesn't turn the ball over and they're able to score touchdowns in the red zone, this offense should really have a great day. I mean, we've seen them be able to move the ball really, really well over these past 4 weeks or so. It's just that these 2 issues have really held them back, and let's be real, the Dolphins defense isn't amazing. You can definitely move the ball against them. These receivers are obviously so dynamic that it's really hard to stop them. We obviously just made the addition of Julio Jones as well. That could be another real bonus for this offense. He could make a couple critical catches here or there. Maybe he can get a score. I think he could definitely help the red zone offense because he's a bigger target, and the defense may not be paying as much attention to him as they are other guys like A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert. And again, it's just going to be about those 2 things, not turning the football over and converting when you get down into the red zone. But still, the offense just doing this may not be enough. The Dolphins offense is just so explosive that they need to find a way to slow them down in any way possible, and there's one other thing that the offense can actually do in order to help do that. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but real quick here, I have to say, if you are enjoying this video and want to see other Eagles videos like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss when I upload any future videos just like this. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you've been consistently watching the videos, or if you're new and you really like what you see with this video and you don't want to miss any others in the future, again, make sure you fix that subscribe. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Okay, so if you'll remember back to last year when the Eagles were 8-0 and they came home to play the Commanders on Monday night, the Eagles were supposed to easily win that game. They were the far more talented team. They were playing a lot better, obviously being 8-0, but the Commanders had the perfect game plan to slow down the Eagles offense, and they executed it perfectly. They were able to heavily control the time of possession and keep the ball out of the Eagles offense's hands through the run game, and they were also able to create multiple turnovers. So in this game versus the Dolphins, the Eagles should use that exact strategy. I mean, the Dolphins defense is not very good against the run, so the Eagles definitely need to take advantage of that. They need to make sure they don't get behind in this game first off, because obviously the Dolphins offense has the ability to bury you, and then you're stuck in a situation where you need to pass. So the Eagles need to get on this early. They need to go out and establish the run game early in this game, and also make sure they're scoring points early and often. If they're able to do those things and not get behind and make sure they commit to the run game, they could have a really successful day doing that and also keep the ball out of the Dolphins offense's hands. and this should really end up being a DeAndre Swift game, especially with Lane Johnson back. If they do that again, they can limit the opportunities of the Dolphins offense and really give themselves a better chance to win this game. So that's the main thing that I think they need to do on the offensive side of the ball, aside from not turning the ball over and also scoring in the red zone. And then on the defensive side of the ball, if they can just generate pressure on Tua consistently and find a way to maybe force 1 or 2 turnovers even, and then the offense can come out and capitalize, that will be absolutely gigantic in helping the Eagles come away with the win. And if the Eagles do win, a lot of the questions that we've had about this team all season, whether that be about the offense or saying Jalen Hurts doesn't look as good or Brian Johnson's bad play calling or whatever it is, a lot of that's going to go away. I mean, this would be a statement win against a really good team, especially after a bad loss like last week, and the Birds need it. They're hungry for it, especially after, again, the loss last week, so we'll see if they can pull it off. I'm personally rolling with the Birds, of course, by a final score of 34-31, but you guys can leave your score predictions down in the comments. And also, you can just elaborate about your thoughts on this game in general heading into it. Also, again, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy and want to show some support. And also, if you did enjoy this video and want to watch another one, I think you'd really enjoy this video talking more in depth about the Eagles' offensive issues and what they can do to fix them. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.